Okay, I hope you had a few seconds here to read this. Big day today. We're in Columbus, Mississippi, close to Tennessee, the Battle of Shiloh. And what's important here is you read, if you get down to about here, the National Memorial Day celebration evolved from the first Decoration Day here in April 1866, where flowers were placed on the graves of 2,194 Confederate and 54 Union dead. The Union soldiers were reinterred in Shiloh in 1887. The ladies who started this were Mrs. Frances Fontaine, Kate Hill, Matt Morgan, that was her nickname, Matt, and Augusta Sykes. And at their house, 12 Gables, when they started this, they decided that they would put the flowers on the graves of the Union dead because they hoped that they had all lost men, either brothers, husbands, sons in the war, that somebody would in the North would put flowers on the graves of their beloved. So I want to take you, we're going to do a little bit of a walk from here. It's going to be about 300 feet to where most of the Confederate soldiers are buried. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this as we walk. You can see it's an Odd Fellows cemetery, and the story is that there's 3 rings in here. I haven't memorized all this. It's 65 acres, and the rings are to, we have a lot of military buried here. This is Vietnam veterans here, World War II over here, World War II, and you can see the flags. It's just after Christmas, obviously, and what we're going to see. The rings of the Odd Fellows are for truth, love, I believe in friendship. And, wow, 1880 born, died 1962. Bear with me, this is a little bit of a walk, but I think it's needed to give a perspective on what Memorial Day is about. We just honored the military dead with wreaths across America 2 weeks ago. And here we are seeing how this started. You can see the American flags about 100 feet away from us, down Friendship Boulevard. And this cemetery, I believe, got started around 1840. So down this lane here is where most of the Confederate soldiers were buried. They moved the Union. So the deal was there was a hospital here that cared for both Union and Confederate wounded from Shiloh. I believe 24,000 people died in that battle. Beauregard of New Orleans was in charge of it after Johnson was mortally wounded, the leader of the General Johnson. And the idea was to stop Grant's army from coming in to Mississippi and destroying Mississippi. 1862. And as you can see here, as we cut across here, some of the age and some of the markers. We have our 3 flags flying high there. And then we have rows and rows of Confederate soldiers buried here. Several with flags, several without. But as far as you can see going back are the Confederate markers. So if you bear with me here, we're going to as I stand here in this Confederate cemetery, there's a part here because the Daughters of the Confederacy did not get credit for starting Memorial Day here. As legend has it right now, Lyndon Baines Johnson was running for President of the United States, and he wanted the votes of New York. So he actually declared Ithaca, or Waterloo, New York, to be the original place of Memorial Day. Why that needed to be done, I don't know, but supposedly for political reasons, and it helped him carry New York, I think, in the Democratic primary. But these ladies here, it's the first place where both sides were covered with flowers, and later became nationwide. And that's part of why this should be considered the birthplace, because it got picked up in the Atlantic Monthly in 1867, and a poem had been written about it called The Blue and the Gray. And I feel like being here, it's worth reading a few lines of this poem about it. It says, by the flow of the inland river, whence the fleets of iron had fled, where the blades of green grass quiver, asleep in the ranks of the dead. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, under one the blue, under the other the gray. These and the resting of glory, these in the gloom of defeat, all with the battle blood gory, and the dust of eternity meet. Under the sod and dew, waiting the judgment day, under the laurel the blue, under the willow the gray. There's about 8 verses to this, but each one ends with these. Under the roses the blue, under the lilies the gray. And again, that first part, under the sod and dew, waiting the judgment day, broidered with the gold the blue, mellowed with the gold the gray. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, wet with the rain the blue, wet with the rain the gray. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, under the blossoms the blue, under the garlands the gray. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, love and tears for the blue, tears and love for the gray. Now that was written as a gentleman there in a newspaper, one of Harless Greeley's newspapers, picked up what was going on here, and it was first published in 1867. I think that effort turned Memorial Day, based on obviously a lot of people individually were doing something, but that's where it became a national effort during the efforts of Waterloo, the efforts of Columbus, Georgia, Mrs. Rutherford, and many other fine people to establish Memorial Day. But these ladies here, I would think, deserve a lot of credit for what they did, and the fact that this poem was written here about the blue and the gray. Everybody cared. It was one nation again. It was reconciliation. And I think that's a big part about what this has all been about, is reconciliation. I don't think these Daughters of the Confederacy were putting monuments up in the spirit of not being reconciliation. That they were putting them up in the spirit of white supremacy, as some politicians have said, or they're putting them up there to send messages that we're still in charge. How could the same women who were trying to reconcile with the Union want to do something nefarious as put a monument up to send a message? So since those ladies were the ones that raised most of the funds for the monuments, I thought they should be defended. And coming here, excuse me, puts it in perspective. I may have a chance to meet one of the ancestors, a lady in her late 80s, who's been part of that chapter of the Daughters of the Confederacy soon. But looking at this and realizing that these 4 women felt that it was time for the country to come together, I don't think that those ladies are the people putting monuments up for nefarious reasons. Let's find another person to blame if there is anyone. And maybe we should just realize those monuments were put up for memorials to men who died, who did not have a marker, who did not come home, like the Louisiana Tigers, 11,000 men who did not come home, fought under Lee, and hence we have a tumulus that became the Robert E. Lee Monument. We have that for many places. So we'll be on the road again, and this is just an amazing place to see. Many of these guys, Tennessee infantry, Confederate. This is the Alabama infantry, Georgia infantry. As I go through these markers here, it's just 2,200 Confederate soldiers buried here from that Battle of Shiloh. Thank you. I'll take you through to see a little bit more of this. And Tennessee infantry, Confederate States, that battle was in April. A lot of people left Shiloh and came here for medical treatment. There were all kinds of problems besides of the water quality. People died for numerous other reasons just besides gunshots. there's even, as I looked, some people from the Mexican-American War buried here. It's an amazing place to see. And you know, just to see some of the names of the people that gave their lives for a cause they believed in, regardless of how we look at it today.